as people would sail up and down the Nile, communicating with each other, and then eventually civilization began to flourish as a result of that. But we can tell a great deal by the original names, and as I told you the original name of Al-Qibla of Africa, I'm going to tell you some of the other original names of empires in that area. What we today call Sudan in ancient times was called Nubia. Everybody say Nubia.
Nubia.
What we today call Egypt in ancient times was called Kemet. Everybody say Kemet.
Kemet.
What we today call Ethiopia in ancient times was called Kush. Everybody say Kush.
Kush.
Now every time I get to that point in my presentation, I got to pause a little bit, because a few years ago I was doing this presentation for a group of high school students, and when I got to the point and asked them to say Kush, instead of saying Kush, the entire audience of about 200 students fell out laughing. And I didn't understand why. So then the teacher became the student, and I said, I didn't know I said something funny. What was it that I said that was funny? And they said, Mr. Akua, when we say Kush, we're referring to
weed.
Check that out. So then we had to take it back to science class, and I said, well, isn't it interesting that somebody took the name of your sacred and holy homeland, mentioned in Genesis chapter 2 as the birthplace of the Garden of Eden, took the name of your sacred holy homeland and turned it into something that'll get you locked up, turn it into something that'll get you locked down, turn it into something that'll get you high. Now I am aware, because I've done a great deal of research into African culture and history, and I do know that African people did use cannabis ceremonially and medicinally. Ashe?
Ashe.
But most brothers and sisters that are using it today are not using it for that reason. Now somebody should have said Ashe right there. Ashe?
Ashe.
So we got to be very, very clear about our cultural roots so that we don't misuse the gifts that our ancestors gave us. Here we see some of the original writings and drawings. These particular drawings go back over 8,000 years to 6,000 BCE, or before the Common Era. Now when you see writing like this, what do you usually call this kind of writing? Call it out. Just call it out.
Hieroglyphics.
Hieroglyphics. Interesting. Wherever I go, I could be in Baton Rouge, I could be in Boston, I could be in Los Angeles, I could be in Louisville. The answer across the country is always the same. And you're right, in a sense, that is hieroglyphics, but guess what? The word hieroglyphics is a Greek term.
Yes.
And that's not Greek writing. Ashe?
Ashe.
Let me take it a step further. When you see this kind of writing, what nation do you usually think of?
Egypt.
You usually think of Egypt. Egypt is a Greek corruption of an African word, and these writings did not originate in Egypt. They originated in Nubia, which is to the south. Ashe?
Ashe.
Now, brothers and sisters, that is going to be very significant with what I'm going to be sharing with you going further. So the writings originated in Nubia, along with the culture, and then spread upwards and flourished into Kemet. The Nile Valley had all sorts of empires and civilizations, and then they all came to a head in Kemet, or what we today would call Egypt. When we look at this kind of writing,